Introducing artist Barbara Rivera by Rita and Reyes. I would like to begin with a quote. I want people to feel the energy and emotions that radiate from my paintings. Miss Barbara Rivera is an American born painter who considers herself to be self taught. She has descendants from Cuba and Mexico, given her dad is a political refugee from Cuba and her mother is a Mexican immigrant from Mexico. Her background and upbringing was in a Catholic home. She also attended private school. Um, she considered herself to be underprivileged, as an adult, looking back at her childhood and very poor. Although, as a child, she mentions that she didn't feel those direct economic hardships because she was a child living a good life to her, as she mentions now as an adult. Her own family now, she considers them to be very hardworking. And currently, she serves as a high school secretary, and once she's done with her workday, she comes home and she becomes this full time painter who really immerses herself in her cultural backgrounds from Cuba lifestyle as well as her Mexican influence. You can see in the background there's a plethora of paintings from her Mexican culture referencing the Day of the Dead. You also have piñatas at the bottom here. Um, I like to consider her more as a storyteller in her art. And recently, she notes that she has traveled to Cuba as well as to Mexico to learn more about her style and her culture so that she can radiate this in her paintings. Now, we're going to talk about the artist's style, materials, and themes. The materials that she uses are all oil on canvas, although she does have some other works in graphite and pencil. Most of her works in her catalog can be found will be oil based. The themes that are represented in her works are predominantly from her Cuban and Mexican culture. The female presence is heavy in most of her works. You can see here in the background, she has a young woman who is dressed in Mexican attire from headdress to the dress top that you can see there on the right hand side. You also see a Frida Kahlo painting. I'm sure this is a homage to Frida. And you have her headdress, which is a traditional Mexican headdress, as well as shared with Cuban imagery and Cuban fashion. Both Cuban and Mexicans wear the flower as a headdress. You also see the themes of woman and child in most of her paintings, and predominantly of her works, as you can see in the background, she pays tribute to the Day of Dead, which is a day where Mexicans travel to the burial sites of their lost ones, and they pay tribute to those who have passed away. We're going to start with the first painting titled Little Sisters. This is oil on canvas. This was made in 2018. As you can see here, like I mentioned earlier, the style that's here is considered like Mexican folk art. You have the patterns on the dress as well as the handbags. Most of these items are handmade and can be found in Mexico traditionally. You see the figurines of the animals from the birds all the way down to what looks like a deer antelope, so also the ducks, and then you have the horse at the bottom. There's a lot of play on animals and spiritual world when we begin to discuss the Day of the Dead and paying memorial to our loved ones that have passed away. Also in their head, where most Latina children wear pigtails, or also they wear braids. You see from the footwear, we also have the chanclas in style and in fashion. In Mexican style and fashion, this is portrayed in this painting, as well as the idea of the two sisters sharing this moment as they walk along. Then we have here colibríes, which is um, hummingbird in English. This is oil on canvas, unknown date. But here you also see three sisters or three relatives dressed in traditional Mexican fashion. The colors are red, white, and green, very, very known to be, in relation to the Mexican flag. You see there's a separation between them and the other side. They are disconnected by this gate that has a symbolism of the U.S. flag. You see the three hummingbirds standing on this gate, this very sharp gate. Kind of reflects on the little girl's visual of having this idea of standing on the fence or not being able to make their way over to what most Mexicans consider the life, the dream, the American dream. And in this way, they're just sort of waiting for their opportunity, as most do, in order to travel across this path, which can also be very dangerous. Um, and in this way, she's bringing activism through this painting, as we have done in a recent activity for your class. Here we also have Motherly Love. This is oil and canvas, unknown date. Again, we have Miss Rivera paying homage to traditional fashion and headdress, as well as the dresses, from the beading to the necklaces to the earrings. And we also see the gold bangles that is worn on most children. We like to decorate our children in beautiful fashion just to highlight them, not only their culture but their beauty. You see the mother staring, as well as the daughter staring in one another's eyes. It's that reflection of paying homage to your past life and looking forward to your future. It's a reflection of mother to daughter and being able to see that love, that shared, that connection between both. And palette's very, very soft, and you have this like lovely use of her oil. I love how she blends her oils to create this soft feel and touch to her paintings. Then we have this titled Basket of Fruit. It is oil on canvas, unknown date. This is where we will begin to discuss the Day of the Dead. Miss Rivera uses a lot of Day of the Dead references in her paintings. You see the face is painted reflecting a skeleton, which most Mexicans use on this day as a. The painting represents a skeletal being, which is also a reflection of your spiritual life. Once you pass on, you become skeletal and bones. This day, on November 2nd, Mexicans travel to the burial sites of their lost ones and they give offerings to them as a celebration, but also a remembrance of them, of who they were when they were living. You see the basket of fruit. Maybe this ancestor really enjoyed fruit, so they would bring fruit to the burial site as an offering, and you would dress traditionally in your gowns to your scarves and your beading, like the best beading necklaces that you have. You would dress your best on this certain day. Also, decorations with flowers would be everywhere, from the ground to the headdress to even bringing flowers to the burial site to make it a beautiful ceremony. Okay, and then I wanted to add this because most of her paintings that were oil on canvas is what I found in her catalog. But this is different. This is a graphite on an illustration board, and it's titled Abuelita Everarda. Dimensions are unknown, but I really wanted to highlight this piece because most Latin families really, really look up to their elders. And I believe in her creating this was just that she wanted to capture the essence of her grandmother in this age. We also want to look at the her hands. She's peeling tambarino, which is traditionally used in most Mexican foods, candies, drinks. Tambarino is a base for a lot of things that we eat. Um, Year round. The pattern in the floral, the background with the flowers, also the pattern in her dress wear, although it's very light and subtle. Um, those type of things are used in fashion culturally in both Cuba as well as Mexico, and I just thought this was very beautiful that she shared with us, this graphite piece. Okay, what I learned is that empowered women empower women. As an artist who's American born as well, I recently found out that I have family from Mexico. This specific painting here is a picture of a Chicana, which I consider myself using this term a lot to represent who I am culturally. A Chicana is just a term that was coined for American born Mexicans who are always on the fence, straddling between being American enough or Mexican enough. And I can see that in the works that are presented by Miss Rivera. She's American born, but always trying to find herself being enough, either Cuban or Mexican. She recently traveled to Cuba, she travels to Mexico, always trying to find more about her background and herself. And in the future, I would also love to do the same things. Her styles and use of oil, I would love to advance my paintings and getting to know how to blend well. Um, and I really, really can appreciate the softness that she gives in her works here. This is just a works cited page that I pulled images from. Um, all our information can be found from these sites. And just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity and hope you all enjoyed.